As the last lap of our discussions on TMI Monday, bringing legal perspectives into the factional inauguration that took place in the Edo State House of Assembly with the emergence of a factional speaker. We have two members of the two factions with us on set in the studio. Let me welcome very especially Marcus Onomo is a member representing Eastern West constituency in Edo State House of Assembly. Marcus, many thanks for joining us.
Thank you so much. Good morning, viewers.
And also here is a member representing Uwunde constituency in the Edo State House of Assembly, Barrister Washington Osifo. Many thanks for joining us on the program.
Major Sonny, good morning, Edo.
Okay, gentlemen, the latest development in Edo State House of Assembly has been a major talking point since last week, Thursday. Let me begin with Barrister Washington Osifo. Is this as a result of Edo 20, which has made some to say, well, perhaps the inauguration was just for political expediency?
No, to say that we'll be standing on the head of truth, and probably to also suggest that we have not been following the trend, the political trend as it affects the Edo State House of Assembly. You know, this journey started as early as June 17th last year. And from the blast of the whistle, while majority were excluded from gaining access, having won the election and been inaugurated in that house, we have taken it as a gauntlet upon ourselves to continue to knock. And we didn't know when that door was going to be opened because there was a man at the other end who refused to open the door to our own house. And we had, in trying to open the doors, we had sought for the advice and sought help, if you like, of various persons and institutions, including the courts, including the hierarchy of our party, the All Progressives Congress, including the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, who is the leader, including the National Assembly, you know, and all of that. So we did petitions because we were aware of the positions of our constitution of the party, you know, which of us, I always say, is not just an ordinary document, it's a subsidiary legislation taken from the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. And it was wrong for anybody to resort to going to court when you had political issues, you know, and on the basis of that, what was best was to exhaust the internal mechanism, and that was why we called for the attention of the NWC as it then was, and the president inclusive. And I'm sure they intervened. I am not saying this, but you already know that they intervened, the president intervened, the National Assembly intervened, but all efforts to get that done, they, one way or the other, through proxies, they went to court, get a restraining order to put pay to what they could have been able to do. Of course, this is 1 year, 2 months down the line. Okay. Nobody would have won election, and somebody would try to stop you from benefiting from the hard labor. Okay. So to say that, you know, it's because of the 2020. You see, for me, I am not on the ticket contesting 2020 governorship election. I'm also aware none of the 14 or now 17 of us is on that ballot. But the truth is that the truth is that we must be allowed to go to the House, which I've been fighting for to enter since last year, is sacrosanct. Okay. Because our elections has nothing, and going in has nothing to do with this.
So have you guys resorted to self-help?
No, this is not self-help. That is why
you said efforts were made to reach out to critical stakeholders to resolve the issues.
You know, the reason why, as a lawyer, I'm trained to lay proper foundation, so that it leaves no stone unturned. And perhaps the questions you are supposed to ask, following questions, could have been answered in the course of answering your question. Okay. Now, the reason why I related this way, recall, let me also take you back to history, in line with what I've just said. Recall that when Edo happened, the inauguration happened, the illegal inauguration happened, you know, and the exclusion of majority. 3 days later, I warned that if something is not done about it, it is going to constitute a very dangerous precedent for other states to follow. I said this in a sister station in Abuja. 2 days later, it happened in Bauchi. They called the attention of leaders of this country to it. Bauchi heeded that advice. Today, they went under the radar because they were able to treat it as a family. Okay. Now, recall that we wrote a letter, we petitioned to the president. And the president, in one of his speeches, when he was addressing Bauchi and Edo issue, he advised that the governors should go and do the proper thing. And when he saw that Edo was not yielding, he also advised subsequently that when his cabinet is formed, And when his Attorney General of his government emerges, he was going to assign the responsibility to him to look into the legal aspect of it, and therefore direct, if he found so that there is a lacuna and the law has been breached, he should direct the IG so that a proper inauguration can be done. And that's exactly what has happened.
Okay. Let me bring Marcus in here. Marcus, what is the perspective, what are the perspectives or the thoughts of the Frank Okiye-led House of Assembly, in which you are part of, in relation to what has happened with Right Honorable Victor Edha emerging as the Factional Speaker? What does that mean to the present House?
Well, thank you so much, and thank you, viewers. For me, there is only one House of Assembly in Edo State, led by Honorable Frank Okiye. And what has happened in the last 2 days, or 3 days thereabouts, is what I can best describe as a drama, maybe another form of Nollywood. Because if you follow up the event that have been going on, you cannot be inaugurating members who are in court challenging their seats being declared vacant. As we speak, the court has not made any pronouncement on that. And the House of Assembly is an institution. They have, the Speaker and all the members have so declared seats of these 12 members not inaugurated vacant, and 2 others that were inaugurated. Because the House have rules. There are rules governing how we run the business of the House. 2 people were inaugurated alongside the 10 of us. And they did not provide themselves for sitting for more than 61 days of the 180 days for the business calendar of a year. And these seats have been declared vacant. So whether rightly or wrongly, they shouldn't resort to self-help. They should approach the court. The court is there to determine if what was done was right or wrong. A situation where you now try to, spring up government inside an existing government, it amounts to treason. And if everybody begins to behave like that, it means that it seems that we are in a banana republic where there are no laws. And honestly, it will not be really good for us. So for me, I don't believe, I don't recognize that there is another House of Assembly. It can best be described as another form of Nollywood.
Okay. Best Washington Sefo.
Yeah.
What did this inauguration relied on to come into effect?
But first, before I go there, for me it's a sad day today. And I have deep respect for the institution of friendship and relationship. This is one day I never prayed for, that I should be sitting in argument with a man I love so much.
Let's stand still.
No, excuse me.
I need to work with my time.
The best thing for you to do in working with time is just to allow me go through.
No, if you go through,
excuse me, Sonny. I haven't made that. I left my house today. I didn't come to waste my time here.
Yes.
Haven't left that. The proper thing to tell you is that anyone who must come to equity must come with clean hands. I'm shocked today that my brother is talking about law, not in Banana Republic. What law was relied on when that nocturnal arrangement that both of us had condemned as friends? We had tried to settle this matter behind the camera because it's my best friend. Now, we have told ourselves that we are leaders and we must do something to do this. Now, let me tell you something. What has happened, is not a Banana Republic deal. It is on the basis of an advice from the chief law officer of this country, who relied on the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to advise that the 14 members who were excluded were wrongfully excluded. But let me also tell my brother, perhaps he should take note and follow through on what is really happening. The case that he has in court, because I heard when he was saying that they declared the seat vacant. It is in court, in Federal High Court. There is a written address from their lawyer they briefed that they never declared the seats of the 12 vacant. That the only one that they declared vacant were the 2 who were inaugurated.
Who didn't come for the sitting?
Who were inaugurated and didn't come for the sitting. Okay. And they relied on the fact that the seat, on our argument, that the seat that was never occupied couldn't have been declared vacant. And they wrote
It is there in the coffers of the court that they never declared that seat vacant. Therefore, he should find out and follow through. It is not a submission from us. It was an argument that they can't do that, and they upheld our argument by their own brief that they didn't declare it vacant. So to put that record straight. Now, you are asking on what basis was that done? Like I explained to you, it was done on the basis of the advice of the chief law officer.
So you're saying, just
relying on the constitution.
So what you're saying now is that the chief law officer would be the Attorney General of the Federation and Minister of Justice.
Absolutely.
Is the advice of the Attorney General. I want you to say that so that we can
get
the
chief law officer
of
this country.
Yes.
Is the Attorney General and Minister of Justice.
Okay.
And I took you back because you said in your introductory remark that it is possible that because the elections are already here, that was why this action was taken.
Okay.
I took you back on history lane to tell you as early as June 17th last year when it happened, soon thereafter, we petitioned the president of this country and leader of the All Progressives Congress to see to it. And I also reminded you the response of Mr. President, that when the cabinet is formed, whoever emerges as his chief law officer or attorney general or minister for justice, if you like, he will direct, forward it to such an office and allow him to look into the veracity or otherwise. And whatever it is found that if we were unlawfully excluded, he would further direct the IG to ensure, working with the inspector, with the chief law officer, to ensure that the inauguration is done. And that's exactly what happened.
So this is with the backing of the Attorney General of the Minister of Justice that we've had this inauguration take. Is that the point you're making?
This is when you call it backing, you're getting it wrong. Don't call it backing, because the Attorney General relied on provisions of the Constitution to so advise. So it is better to say, it is more legal to say with the advice rather than saying to backing. It's a military fiat.
Okay, let me pause it there. Marcus, is the Frank Okiye-led House aware of these consultations, interaction, this backing or advice, as Pastor Washington Sifo would want us to put it, in terms of this inauguration that has taken place?
Well, for me, this is Edo State, and Nigeria is a federating nation where every federation unit, which forms a state, have powers to govern, and run its own business. I like to put the record straight. On June 14th, 2019, the governor issued a proclamation. On June 17th, 9 of us were available for inauguration. After that inauguration, we had 3 other gentlemen who came to join us as honorable members. And since after then, you have it on good record, even on your station here, because you cover all our sittings. We have made several appeals to our brothers to come and join us. There was no name they didn't call or to try to describe what we have: nocturnal inauguration, midnight House of Assembly, and what have you. Even at that, we try to make appeal to say, irrespective of what, just like you said, he's somebody, I call him my chairman. He's somebody that we meet off camera to try to talk about how we come together and all of that. And suddenly, because he mentioned just now, it's not about 2020. Suddenly, few weeks to the 2020 election, they have suddenly realized that they need to be in the House of Assembly and choose to now move to a private residence to now become or to inaugurate themselves as member of Edo State House. But the first question I ever asked myself was Barrister Washington Sifo part of that inauguration? When I heard of it, I was really touched. I've not called since then because I know what he stands for. He's somebody that I've always worked with, somebody that I've always looked up to. When we're coming to the House of Assembly, he's one person that I say I am going to work with when I get to the House. Desperation should not take us to this level. We are here to represent the Edo people. You understand? Irrespective of our political affiliation or support or whatever, this is an institution that we must not sacred. We must not desecrate the sanctity of the hallowed chamber. I am ashamed the kind of drama that is now put, across all media stations concerning the Edo State House of Assembly, just because of desperation. And again, to quickly say that, it is not enough to say that he is not on the ballot. A colleague who we ran election together, Gani Audu, is on the ballot. He is the deputy governorship candidate of the APC. So you can now understand why this desperation is setting in. The last time we had a meeting in Abuja, all of us, the 24 of us, with the governor of Plateau State, Solomon Lalong, and 3 other governors, where we sat down to say, what are the best ways that we can, find a way to bring about political solutions to this problem. After that meeting, we were supposed to stay together in the same hotel, but somehow everybody went his or her own way, and there have not been any meeting up till now. The inauguration again, they claim that they had, or the one I call drama. We have a sitting speaker and a deputy speaker. The deputy speaker was impeached few days before the drama they went to carry out. Who now calls for the sitting? And the constitution says that if the speaker and the deputy speaker is not around, you need a two-thirds majority to vest powers on the majority leader or the most senior person, to convey any sitting, if at all they were going to do inauguration. The man who presided over the drama they acted in the hierarchy of the house as of today is the number 6th man. So how can you call all of that an inauguration? And when I heard that, people that we look up to in the society, people who have had, gone through the process of the university education and even have very good knowledge of the law, are now involved in this kind of what they call inauguration. I've yet to see the title of the Nollywood drama that was carried out a few days ago.
If you just joined us, it's TMI Monday with yours sincerely, bringing up to speed legal perspectives on the EDHA factional inauguration, talking about the Edo State House of Assembly. My guest here, Barrister Washington Usefo, the member representing Hunde constituency, and Honorable Marcus Noble, representing Eastern West constituency. Well, one on the side of the Right Honorable Victor Edoro-led House, based on last Thursday's inauguration, and the other on the side of the Right Honorable Frank Okiye-led House at the State House of Assembly. Gentlemen, once again, thank you for coming on the program. Now, he said they appealed to you and the other guys to come for inauguration, to bury the hatchet and move forward. Were such attempts ever made? Because you said that in the course of time, efforts were made to reach out to them by well-meaning individuals, up to Mr. President, for this issue to be resolved amicably, but there was a constant brick wall.
Let me tell you the truth. I don't betray, and I will never be dragged into these discussions, because himself and I know that the hands that stopped this, and himself and I agreed that the hands that stopped this was beyond himself and I. We were discussing as friends, not as to, we were discussing what could have been done, what ought to have been done. Now, when he talked about that, we went to Abuja. The first time we were seeing as brothers, after 1 year or close to 1 year, was that day that we all met in Abuja. And he expected all of us to stay in the same hotel. You can't expect that. Now, the conditions that were given when they got there, when we got there, was different from what we agreed on before we left here. So they changed the narrative. And that was what led to the fact that everybody went apart. Okay? But let me even put that one aside. Democracy is all about majority. No matter how we try to play about this, how can you explain 17 members out of 24? If you want me further to break it down, that would mean in Edo North, there are 8 seats, constituencies. In Edo Central, there are 6, and in Edo South, there are 10. Everything 24. As we speak today, the 17 members constituted means the entire 8 seats of the northern of the Edo North, then 1 out of the 6 in Edo Central, which is a bit small in terms of number, then in Edo South, another overwhelming 8 out of 10. How can you explain that? Then you are talking about democracy. You are talking about who did this and who did what and how. Well, the truth is that what led to all of this, what the shenanigan, the contraction that happened on the 17th of June last year. If the governor had allowed us as members of the House, we had this unity of purpose and unity of command. We had a spirit that we were coming to add value to governance by making good laws for good governance and pushing the executive, to be responsible to their mandate of discharging development to our people. That was our mandate. But an executive that was rascal, that wanted to divide the house and control the house, you know, didn't allow that to happen. Himself and I had agreed that the reason why we needed to come was as a result of what we both of us termed as the failure of the Sixth Assembly when they voted against their own autonomy. That was what motivated me to say, I want to go to the House and be a voice and be able to guarantee the independence of the legislative arm. Because the difference between democracy and military rule is the absence of presence of the legislative arm. Okay. Any attempt for the executive part of it to pocket the legislative arm will bring it to nothing other than what is similar to the military fiat. So, having done that, I have always had courage to speak truth to power. It doesn't matter. I have challenged you time to time number. I have sat here as a guest in your presentation. Prove me wrong if I'm not saying this. And severally, you will ask, are you in this government? Because I was in government of Adams Ali Oshomole as commissioner for education, a commissioner for energy and water resources. My training and my fear of God is that my training for my parents is that you must have the character and ability to speak to power. And I demonstrated that. Governor Obaseki, the governor of Edo, knows that Washington will not be cowed by position to say he will not do that. I'm not crazy over power. Okay? What has brought me to the House of Assembly is to speak for my people. Uwode local government is the most underdeveloped local government in Edo State. Okay. The governor has also said that. And Uwode is one of the most, parades one of the most intelligent men on earth today. So you cannot factor how it should be like that. Okay. So I am not answerable to anybody. I am answerable to my constituency. I am answerable to the votes they gave to me. I am answerable to the certificate of returns that I carried by INEC, which is still with me and intact. And I am answerable to the provisions of the Constitution of the Federal Republic of Nigeria that has been so interpreted. Okay. And I am also answerable to what we have done in legitimizing or claiming our mandate of sitting for the House. And as we speak today, Edha Victor is the substantive Speaker of the Edo State House of Assembly, and of course his deputy Mike, my brother Mike. They are the ones. And there's nothing stop that.
Let me pursue there. Marcus, there's a letter that trended, I think, last week in social media, which purportedly came from the AG's office, the Minister of Justice office, asking the police to provide security for the other members. I mean, prior to the inauguration, or prior to that inauguration that took place on Thursday. Is the House under the leadership of Frank Okiye concerned about that letter? And then right after that inauguration, we saw pictures on social media, Commissioner of Police having a group photograph, even though the Commissioner later came out to say, well, he did what he did because they are citizens of Edo State. In democracy, you embrace everybody. It wasn't an endorsement on the spot. Yes.
Well, I read through that letter as well on social media. I think that was a response to a letter that was written to the Attorney General by maybe one of their solicitors and what have you. For me, House of Assembly or not, these 14 persons, they are citizens of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, and if they feel threatened for whatever reason and they seek security and the Attorney General so directs the security agencies to provide them security, I don't see anything wrong about that. So, but claiming the status of a House of Assembly member, that status is not there anymore, except the court declares otherwise. And this is why, you know, like you said, we have been trying to fashion out ways. Because when you take oath of office, there are some provisions you cannot breach. Declaring their seat vacant is not what Marcus Honorable wished them. Because we ran this election together, we know what we went through. But having provided yourself, made yourself available for inauguration, and the constituents are complaining, they are suffering, they are not represented. So ours is okay, if you are not ready for this job, there are 1,001 persons who are available to do this job. I may conduct another election and bring other persons on board so that all the 24 constituencies will be, you know, represented. And of course, I am really taken aback, honestly, that we are seated here and I I still believe that it's drama to mention an Edo as speaker of a campaign organization or what? Okay, let me pursue as a speaker of Edo State.
Let me pursue, Marcus. We'll take a short break. We'll be back in a moment to conclude this discussion, because you know that last week was really dramatic in the Edo State House of Assembly. We saw the roof being taken off. We saw truckloads of granite, you know, in the 2 entrances or 3 entrances into the house. We'll talk about all of that when we return after this short break. Stay with us. It's still TMI Monday.
TMI, every opinion counts.
Thanks again for staying with us on the show, TMI Monday, with yours sincerely. Just on the last lap of our discussion today, still looking at the legal perspectives on the factional inauguration at the Edo State House of Assembly. I want to thank Barrister Washington Sifo and Marcus Onobo once again for joining us. Gentlemen, thanks for coming.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we had the Marcus on before that short break. Quickly anchor the point that you were making, particularly against the background that the election is here, and in some quarters, the feeling is that this is all about the Edo 2020 elections. Barrister Washington Sifo disagrees with that, or disagreed with that earlier. Yeah,
like I mentioned earlier, it's about the 2020 elections, because for me, if members that were elected to represent their people have stayed away for over 1 year, all appeals that have been made, you know, to them to come and do inauguration, they said they want to wait till after the election. Now the question is, what is the desperation about? Why did they suddenly realize that they need to be part of the House? They had all the opportunity between June 17th and December when the seats were declared vacant. Now you now ask yourself a question, is it about their constituents? Is it about their personal? Because if it's about their constituents, they wouldn't stay a day, you know, after June 17th to come and do inauguration, because they represent millions of people. But this time around, haven't realized that it is about, you know, getting their candidates to succeed, or it's about coming to be part of, you know, the government, and possibly, you know, to also have 1 or 2 opportunities, you know, to make some mischievous moves against the government of the day. They choose to now, you know, go for the drama that they acted a few days ago. And I still completely maintain, because I know, even though I don't know other persons, I know the likes of Barrister Washington Sifo. You know, sometimes you, like Dino Milaye, you notice that having left Senate, he went and started acting some movies and all that. I still want to believe that what was carried out was mere drama, and we are waiting for the, you know, title of the movie so we can go and watch it in the cinemas.
Okay, Barrister Washington Sifo, I think it was real drama on Thursday, or on Thursday, we saw trucks taking granite, you know, pouring granite on the entrance into the Edo State House of Assembly. We saw the rooftops being removed and all of that, and there were allegations that there were attempts to invade the house, and security agents came, the governor and his deputy, and even the speaker, Frank Okiye, came to the house. Does all of this add up to what eventually translated to the inauguration of a factional house?
Well, you are not even getting it right. The security agents were not there because they were alerted on the fact that some persons were coming to invade the house. Security agencies were there pursuant to the directives given from the pen of the Chief Law Officer, who is the Attorney General and Minister for Justice, relying on sections of the Constitution, including Section 91, but not limited to that, that having excluded majority who won election, they are duty-bound to provide security for their inauguration. So the security agents were there to make, to create a peaceful environment, a convivial environment for us to go and be inaugurated in our house, the Edo State House of Assembly. Now, it was the governor and whoever came with him. You saw the visuals that came and invaded. And right before the same security agents who were supposed to provide that security, they watched them desecrate the chambers that my brother belongs to. I don't know how he feels. If this was the reason why we contested the election, then it wasn't worth it. Because they destroyed that house, brought down the roof, went to the rooftop and brought down the mace, the symbol of authority, on top of the roof. They were cutting chairs, furniture from office to office, and even in the hello chambers, and cutting away government properties. They took away TVs and all of that. It was a free day. But what was most painful was that the governor was saddled by the constitutional responsibility to ensure that the secure life and property, watched, supervised the destruction and looting of government properties. That is a sad commentary. Well, let me also tell you something.
But I thought you said they were there to midwife the
I'm talking about the
security agents. That's what you're talking about?
Yeah. Let me tell you. Yeah. The security agents were acting on the instruction from the IG based on the directive from the Attorney General and Minister of Justice, who is the Chief Law Officer. Now, the security agents were overwhelmed by the presence, and they were civilized. I'm telling you, they were overwhelmed by the presence of the governor, you know, and my very good friend, you know, the man I love so much, the deputy governor. The governor has never been my friend. The deputy governor has been my friend, and he continues to be my friend. Okay. Now, when for me, I don't know how people judge the actions of the Commissioner of Police. I do not envy his job. I think he was responsible enough to just know that tactical discipline would suggest that since the governor is here, it's not as if he would have been, although some persons are blaming him, that if the governor had immunity, those who were vandalizing government property didn't have immunity. Okay. So he was not the immunity of the governor or the deputy governor, my friend, didn't cover those persons, and he ought to have taken action. Okay. But for me, we don't have to spill blood, you know, to make a statement. The best thing to do was to do it the way we did it. And let me also tell you, that house that he went to vandalize on that day, my brother here has not been sitting in that house for a very long time. They sit in government house. So when you talk about legitimacy of a position, and the question I'm asking, that can you that is guilty, you know, can you come to equity? You only came there on that day. Okay. When you noted, you know, or you heard that your brothers, the one you said they didn't want to come. Now that they want to come, what is now the problem? What problem do you have? But I must continue to tell my brother, he must look at the books. Okay. All right. So to know that their response in the court in the Federal High Court in Abuja, they denied that they never vacated the seats of 12. It was just for 2. Because those seats were never occupied. It is that's just.
I just want to get your final reaction on the Thursday incident.
I'm not a lawyer, but just to quickly respond to the last part that he mentioned, I know very well that the moment a proclamation is issued, like the governor did on the 14th of June for the 7th Assembly, every member that were elected, they become member of Edo State House of Assembly. Because the reason why you carry that name, members elect, as at when we were giving certificate of return, they were still the 6th Assembly who had not left, you know, office. So you cannot be member at the same time another person is a sitting member. So from the proclamation, the 24 of us become member of Edo State House of Assembly. That is why when you go to subscribe to the oath of office, the members have that opportunity to vote who their speaker will be. After the speaker has been voted and inaugurated, taking oath of office, he now in turn inaugurates the other members. So what that means is that from that proclamation, the 24 of us becomes member of Edo State House. So when I've been seeing the issue of members elect, I'm like, what's going on? Okay. I have to go to the constitution to look at it. Okay. So what that means is that their seats have been declared vacant because they were members as at when the proclamation was released. Then on the issue of the Thursday drama, I was at the House of Assembly. Before then, about 3 to 4 weeks back, the House had resolved to do inauguration, and so many work have been going on. I'm sure your station would have covered it as at when they had to blind the fence and do all kind of work, signs and all that. If you go to the place, work have been going on. It's just a coincidence that very day was the day the contractors were coming in with their truckload of granites and sand and what have you. Are you getting it? Okay. Now, when we got there were a lot of people. You know, and I also understand that a lot of our youths and women heard that their own State House of Assembly was being invaded by strangers, and they all came. So you couldn't know who is who as at that day when, you know, they were looting and what have you. So you cannot ascribe it to a particular, you know, movement or party or association to say who did what. You know, I can as well say it was the people, you know, the other group sent that came to loot the Edo State House of Assembly. So it was an unfortunate incident that happened that day, and we condemn it, you know, completely. And we ask that Edo people should stand the way they have been standing firm to protect their property, because Edo State House of Assembly is the property of all Edo people.
Okay. Now, on the final note, gentlemen, with the outcome of the 2020 governorship election bring to an end all of this, in a sense?
Well, I don't know what you call all of this, but for me, my mandate was given to me to represent my people in the Edo State House of Assembly. But if you are talking about the crisis, but I'm telling you, for me, it has nothing to do with the 2020. My mandate came before the 2020. With or without the 2020, my mandate cannot be taken. Therefore, I'm a citizen, and as a citizen, whether I was voted into the House or not, I will contribute to what will happen on September 19th, 2020. Okay. So, you see, I am not surprised. This is it's a general hype around a major election. So whether we like it or not, at the expiration of this 2020, in 2024, as the case may be, something like this will continue to happen, because the process of contesting for the position of governor is not tea party. Therefore, everybody must do everything that is legal on the line to ensure they mobilize the voters to vote for them, so that they can win. But I want to encourage the young ones, like us, because the responsibility that falls squarely on our shoulders is to redefine politics in Edo. Okay. And I want to encourage our youths to stay away from violence, not to allow any leader in the guise of their political ambition to use them, because when they buy guns for them, they buy them all manners of weapons to help them win election. After the election, they will see those talks as talks, and they will never open their doors for them. They take note. If you look at the list, when they are drawing lists of who will go and fight for them, you don't see their brothers, you don't see their children, you don't see their
use other people's children.
Use other people's children. Let me go to the parents must also have the mandate to caution their children, so that they don't continue to label them as thugs and agbero. They are victims. These guys are victims. Our people they call agbero are victims of irresponsible government who refuse to empower them. If they were empowered, they wouldn't have been on the street. If they were empowered, they wouldn't have been in the House of Assembly destroying our property the way they did.
Marcus, last final take.
Well, for me, I really feel touched when my brother mentioned just now that I said we made appeals to them to come and be inaugurated. And as at when they were ready, why didn't we open our doors? It's just unfortunate that it is not within our powers at this point, you know, to reverse what has been said. Okay. You know, while we were contesting the election and all the interaction we have had, honestly speaking, Barrister Washington is one of the best brains that Edo people look up to in the Edo State House of Assembly. And if there's anything that can be done to see that he comes on board, trust me, I personally will make myself available for such a, but not the kind of action and the process with which they want to come in. And I want to advise him to deassociate himself from that kind of arrangement, because I know the respect and regards that people have for him.
Okay. All right. Thank you, gentlemen, for your time with us on the show, TMI. Hope you enjoyed it while it lasted. Just in case you missed any part of the program, you go straight to our YouTube channel, www.youtube.com/ITV-Radio-NG. Follow up on the content that is coming from today's edition of This Morning on ITV. Let me say big thanks to Barrister Washington Osifo.
Yes, sir.
Marcus Onombo, thank you for coming.
Thank you so much.
All right, the handshake is waiting. Yeah, that's what it is. That's what it is. Okay, that's our program for today. I want to say big thanks to everyone that made this show a huge success. Have a great week ahead. My name is Sonny Duke Okosun, signing out.